Hello, this is Jamie Mitchell, and we are back for another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have, it's official, the Cybertruck is more explosive than the Ford Pinto from FuelArc.com, posted by Patom13. And yeah, it might be, but, the reason it's being posted here is because Tesla man bad, the media will go after someone because of their political beliefs, like Trump or Musk, and then everything that's associated with them is suddenly the worst thing ever. And it changes from time to time who the person is. It used to be Ron DeSantis a couple of years ago, but now that guy's pretty much irrelevant, even though he's still the governor of Florida. But he used to be the one that the media always hated on, but now it's Trump and Elon. But regardless, Tesla used to be the progressive gold standard when it came to electric cars, and now they're literally might as well be Nazi vehicles. So it just goes to show you how the media and media narratives will go after whoever dissents from the official narrative at all. And that's what you pretty much always see on Reddit. Reddit's pretty much just exclusively Orange Man bad, Tesla Man bad now. Now, I personally don't agree with all of Orange Man's positions and views and all of Tesla Man's positions and views, but it just goes to show you how if you dare dissent from the official DNC narrative, they'll all come after you for it. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump has been talking with Putin to end the war in Ukraine, and that's from CH Relax, and that's crosspost from the Laser Pig subreddit, and that's the truth from Donald Trump's Truth Social. I just had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. We discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, artificial intelligence, the power of the dollar, and various other subjects. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people, and we likewise lost so many. We even talked about strengths of our respective nations and the great benefit that we will someday have working together. But first, we both agree we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war of Russia/Ukraine. And it goes on for a lot longer, but I'm not going to read all of that. But, yeah, I personally think it's interesting how, a lot of the progressives say, oh, we're anti-war, but then it comes to Russia-Ukraine, and suddenly they're the most pro-war as possible. And yeah, I don't want, we'll talk more about Russia-Ukraine later, but it just goes to show you how people are or if people didn't have double standards, they don't have any of them. The Republicans are increasingly trying to say, "Oh no, we're the anti-war party," but then you go to Israel-Palestine, and suddenly they're the pro-war party. It just goes to show you how people will say they're principled, but the second the narrative comes knocking at the door, people are going to sell out if they can benefit from it. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have unrealistic objectives, NATO membership and pre-2014 borders for Ukraine from Lemon Limelight, and they said from the Washington Post, Hegseth calls Ukraine's peace goals unrealistic and meaningless allies. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Wednesday called Ukraine's desire to recover all of the territory it lost to Russia in 2014 an unrealistic objective, pledging that the Trump administration will pursue peace negotiations to end the two nations war while pointedly shaping them at the outset. Chasing the illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more pain and suffering, Hegseth said. Any peace deal, Hegseth added, must come with robust security guarantees, international oversight of the boundary between Russian and Ukrainian forces, and no NATO membership for Ukraine, something that would require other countries to defend Ukrainian territory in any future conflict. And I would agree with that. A lot of the brothers are saying, oh no, we have to defend Ukraine to the end, the war needs to be never ending. Well, that being said, sometimes, if people might use, Russia is in the position right now. They have the larger army and larger nuclear capacity. So sometimes you do have to deal with that. And yeah, I personally don't really care for Russia or Ukraine. I'm more sympathetic to Ukraine slightly, I would say, because they're the ones who got invaded. But a lot of it was because the U.S. astroturfed a coup there and installed a pro-U.S. regime to replace the old pro-Russia regime. And yeah, so I personally do think that they should try and be as realistic as possible, considering the U.S. pretty much started the conflict in the first place with the I think it was the Moldan Revolution and Euromaidan, but yeah, so I do think the U.S. should negotiate. U.S., Russia, and Ukraine should all negotiate peace together, and hopefully it will be a lasting peace. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Mitch McConnell begs Americans for forgiveness, blames Trump for the economic problems facing America. He thinks MAGA is wrong. From the newsglobe.net by Donald T. And that's crosswords from the economic collapse subreddit. And yeah, I don't think really anyone really cares that much for Mitch McConnell. You know, a lot of the MAG people think he's not MAGA enough, and a lot of the woke people think he's not woke enough. So, you know, if he wants to beg for forgiveness, you know, he should be able to. But, you know, I personally think, you know, he's not exactly the most popular today, especially since he's, you know, constantly freezing up, and, you know, he's part of the gerontocracy. Because, you know, he's been in there since the 80s, so, you know, try to get someone new in there. They might be more MAGA, but, you know, at this point, you know, the old guard establishment Republicans have kind of gone their course, I would say. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have checks and balances. The court, according to framers from Anarcho Federation, they said the Constitution is supreme, not acts of Congress, not a president's views, and not court opinions. The framers repeatedly affirmed this. So who decides when the Constitution is violated? For the founders, the answer was everyone, and that's the key to what we're covering in this episode: how real checks and balances are designed to work. And yeah, I would agree with that. You know, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, but the truth is that the Constitution's been violated for centuries at this point. Even when the framers were still alive, it was being violated. So it just goes to show you how the U.S. is pretty much running on pretty much nothing at this point. Because the Constitution clearly is, you know, people will go over the Constitution if need be. You know, it's like during the COVID pandemic, they had the lockdowns. Even the Constitution says you can't. People have a right to free assembly, and that doesn't make a lockdown exception or a pandemic exception. And yeah, so people, you know, so the government pretty much is just on eggshells at this point. The Constitution doesn't mean anything. The Capitol doesn't mean anything. You know, you can just storm that. No one will really care a few years later. So what does the U.S. have left, really, when it comes to its government? Increasingly, people are seeing it for the illegitimate shell that it is. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have armored Tesla forecast to win $400 million State Department contract after Trump's election. Government document shows from CH4 Locks. And that's a crosspost from the Cyberstuck subreddit. And yeah, that's more Tesla man bad. You know, I personally don't care how government usually tries to enrich their allies and private businesses, but they've been doing that since forever. You know, back in the early 2010s, the Occupy Wall Street said, oh, big business is the problem. Well, Tea Party said, big government is the problem. Well, in reality, both of those are pretty much the exact same thing, and it always pretty much have been. So you gotta hold both of them accountable. And, you know, people, they seem like they're concerned now, but only because Tesla man bad is the current narrative. They didn't care when Obama bailed out the banks or when Biden forced vaccine mandates. You know, it's only when the out group is doing something that they care. When the in group does it, they always find a way to justify it. Then we have, how is it that some staunch libertarians veer so far off course from JStock's QQQQ? And they said, I've seen a pattern with staunch libertarian advocates and party members who are active in spreading libertarian ideals and influencing libertarian politics veer off the path of libertarianism into full-blown partisanship. What's going on a deeper level here? Was there never any libertarians to begin with? Were they grifters and attention seekers? Are they hiding their libertarian ideals in order to advance a more pragmatic cause? Did they see that certain libertarian policies are bad in favor of partisan politics? To give context, I'm thinking of people like Joshua Equal and Jonathan Casey, who were super involved in the classical liberal caucus, but have now appeared to become full-blown Democrats, and seem to have completely abandoned their independent messaging in favor of regurgitating Democrat talking points. I'm also thinking of Mises Caucus folks who have gone deeper and deeper into full-blown support of the MAGA movement, although they're more open to admitting they don't agree with everything, but are open to doing it for pragmatic reasons. I honestly understand why a classical liberal may support a Democrat candidate, but I can't understand why they would swallow Democrat messaging hook, line, and sinker without being really clear on their core libertarian principles. It just seems that someone who believes in something strongly enough that they start a movement and a caucus would not so quickly drop the message of freedom in favor of partisanship. And yeah, I think that's the big problem for U.S. politics today. It's like, I remember Bill Maher saying, it's like everyone's in a prison and they're forced to either join the red gang or the blue gang, pretty much. You know, the Magatarians were the ones ruling the Libertarian Party for the past couple of years, but now it's going to go over to the Wokatarians, it seems like. So it just goes to show you, pretty much everyone thinks they need to be on the MAGA team or the woke team. Well, I would say that the libertarian perspective is to be against both of those, as they're both inherently collectivist ideologies, and libertarians believe in individualism over collectivism. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Republicans reveal Trump tax plan will cost us US $4.5 trillion from Newsweek.com by Donald Key. And yeah, it just goes to show you how the government's going to piss away money regardless of which branch of the Uniparty is in power. Then we have reparations bill returns to Congress as Trump leads charge against racial equity in government from Dr. 07. That's from NBCnews.com. And yeah, I personally don't really care about, my thoughts on reparations are if people want to voluntarily spend them, I think, pay them, I think they should be able to, but I don't think people should be forced paying them if they don't want to. Same with everything else. If people do want to pay for reparations, that's on them. Everyone who deserves payment for slave labor is long since passed on. And if you want to go by that logic, everyone probably deserves reparations for something at some point for one of their ancestors. So, at some point you do have to move on. That's my thoughts on it. But if people do want to pay reparations funding voluntarily taxation rather than forced taxation, I think it would be okay. Then we have GOP lawmaker speaks out against party's debt plans from Ragnar OKXG. And yeah, I think, let's see, if, I would agree that, as I said earlier, that the party's going to piss away, the Uniparty's going to piss away the money regardless of which branch of them is in power. So I do think we need to hold accountable and do that, as this guy David Schweiker of Arizona is apparently doing here. Then we have Back to the Old Days: What's Wrong with Trump's Plan to Abolish Income Tax from Kiplinger.com by Ragnar OKXG. And yeah, I personally don't think people should be forced to pay an income tax if they don't want to. But the government's in the position to enforce it as it is currently. Hopefully Trump goes through with it, but he does say a lot of stuff that he doesn't go through with, so I'm kind of skeptical that he'll go through with it. Also, it would require a constitutional amendment since it was implemented by a constitutional amendment in the first place. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. confirmed as Health Secretary by Senate from TheGuardian.com by Dr. 07. And yeah, I personally don't think he's libertarian. I think he's probably one of Trump's better appointees with people like Marco Rubio in this cabinet. But regardless, I do think, he's one of the outsiders that I appreciate Trump is trying to bring in. But still, I don't think that makes him libertarian because he's trying to ban some stuff that he doesn't like food dyes and all that. And I think, private companies should be able to use whatever food dyes they want, even if they might not be the best when it comes to health matters. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Bernie Sanders: more and more power going to fewer people with huge amounts of money, from Ragnar OKXG, and that's cross post from the Public Freakout subreddit. And yeah, I used to like Bernie, but he's sold out. He voted against Tulsi, he voted against RFK, people who kind of have that same outsider mentality that he does, because they're in the out group rather than the in group. So, I think he's probably just bought and paid for as the rest of them. And, he sometimes says stuff like this that make me think of 2016 Bernie, but I think 2016 Bernie is long dead and gone at this point. He's just a sellout like the rest of them. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump appointee quits instead of dropping Eric Adams' charges, alleges quid pro quo from RollingStone.com by LegioX. And yeah, if they want to quit, I think they should be able to. They're probably just going to get fired anyway. But I don't think it really matters too much, If they want a government full of Trump loyalists, they should be, that's on them. But don't be surprised when the other branch of the new party takes power that all of them are DNC shills like most of Reddit. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, I thought we were hiring based on merit now. How is the team cracking into our sensitive data to be trusted if they can't even secure website? And that's from Keep F King That Chicken. And that's from the Doge website, Meet the US Government. And some guy wrote on it, these experts left their database open. Roro. And yeah, it just goes to show you how government, a lot of people think they're evil, but I think government's far more incompetent than it is evil, and they really are kind of evil, but they're really much more incompetent. And yeah, it just goes to show you how if anyone can just hack into the government website like the Doge website, maybe they shouldn't be in positions of authority in the first place. Then we have her parents were injured in a Tesla crash. She ended up having to pay Tesla damages from ABCNewsGo.com by CH Relax, and that's cross-posted from the technology subreddit. And yeah, I think that's kind of stupid. If you get injured in a crash, you shouldn't be paying the company that you crashed and damaged. It's not like when you get shot up, you're not gonna pay the gun company damages. A lot of progressives want it to be the other way. They want the company to pay you damages. Like if they probably want Elon to pay damages here because Tesla man bad. But no, you shouldn't be forced to pay a company damages because you were in a vehicle at one of their vehicles at the time of the accident. Then we have SpaceX gets new $40 million defense contract from independent.co.uk from previous L3. And they added details from Reuters on the current contracts at Reuters. Elon Musk is supporting defense contracts. And yeah, that's just to show you, the government's just going to reward whoever's in the in-group and punish whoever's in the out-group, regardless of which branch of the Uniparty is in power. Then we have White House says it has the right to punish AP reporters over Gulf naming dispute from ABCNews.co.com posted by Swamp Yankee Dan. And yeah, I personally think, that's kind of the cancel culture that the right supposedly rails against. If it was the Kamala Harris administration publishing an outlet for not using someone's preferred pronouns, they'd be against it. But when it's them, it's suddenly it's okay. I think if you should be able to call the Gulf whatever you want to, and the U.S. government should be able to punish whoever it wants to. But ultimately, don't pretend that you're against cancel culture. You're only against cancel culture when the in-group does it, and not when the out-group does it, not when the in-group does it. Then we have Reddit plans to lock some content behind a paywall this year, CEO says, from ArsTechnica.com, posted by Ninja Lover. And yeah, Reddit keeps doing these stupid things like that. I always think this is going to be it. This is going to kill Reddit, but it never seems to die. Hopefully, we'll all be lucky that day, and it will one day drop dead, and all your Reddit circle jerkers will have to go somewhere else, probably like Blue Sky or something. They'll always probably go somewhere. There will probably always be some obnoxious progressive website on the internet like Reddit, regardless of whether Reddit or not exists. So it's just gonna be new boss same with the old boss. At the very least, Reddit, it's just kind of a tragedy at this point. It went from being one of the greatest havens for free speech on the internet to literally the most censored and progressive circle jerk website on the internet. And hopefully it will pay for that one day. But if it doesn't, that's life sometimes. Sometimes, bad things happen or good things happen to those who don't deserve them. And Reddit's a good example of that. And I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.